But I will tell you some of the key major changes. Like although in our training I have given detailed training, detailed changes, but here I'll give you 5 major changes. What are those 5 major changes? Let's see. Context of the organization. So if we see IATF 16949 has context of the organization. I will definitely not explain in depth, right? Just an overview. Context of the organization is to identify your weak area, your issues, work on your weak area, work on your issues, work on your gaps. That's the meaning of context of the organization. And identify your maybe methodology like SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. All that stuff need to be identified. IATF focus on risk analysis. There is too much focus on risk analysis. MR is silent. So when I say MR is silent, that means the process owner is given more respect. Like still you can appoint MR. I have helped 31 companies in the implementation of IATF. Each and every company has MR, but nowadays, like, it's not mandatory to appoint MR. If you appoint MR, it's okay, but no, there is no necessary like compulsion to give the letter of management representative. Like before it was necessary, but now there is no mandatory requirement. MR clause is silent. Why MR clause is silent? It does not mean MR is not working. How many of you are MR, by the way? If I want to know, how many of you are MR? Just like me, or you want to become MR? Want लिख दो. If you want to become MR, just write want. If you are MR, just write MR. That's what I know. Because I was like MR for a long period of time. And once, very interestingly, CEO called me. It was in year 2009. Okay, CEO Saab called me. He said, Arun, if MR is required. I said, sir, CEO Saab is asking, MR is required. Maybe he think that my salary is too much and he may would like to remove me. हो सकता है मेरे को company से बाहर भगाना चाहते हो. So I said to him, I thought that I will give him diplomatic answer. मेरे को लगा मैं अपने CEO साहब को I will give my CEO साहब diplomatic answer. I said to him, sir, as such MR is not required in any organization. MR is not required. Why MR is not required? Because if you see, who is responsible for the implementation of their work? Who is expert in their work? Who is the master of his work? Head of the department, process owner. They are themselves capable, right? So if they are expert in their subject, expert in their department, then they can make their own SOP, audit on their own, can find out the improvement. In that case, sir, MR is not required. So I said to CEO, but then I thought that I need to save my job. मुझे अपनी नौकरी भी बचानी है. I said, sir, but in our country and in many countries, sir, head of the department are in the firefighting mode. They don't have time. So, sir, there should be someone who should push them, who should tell them that, yes, you need to follow the system. There should be someone who should audit them. Somebody should coordinate the work with the certification body. Somebody should, tighten them. So because they're in firefighting mode. So, sir, in my thinking, MR will be required. He said, okay, you go. Not from the company. Okay, you go from my cabin. It's okay. Thank you. And to my surprise, in 2015, when QMS ISO 9001 QMS was launched, MR clause was silent. MR clause is silent. Still in IATF, MR clause silent hai. MR clause is silent. That means there is no mandatory need to appoint MR as a special designation. But still many companies are doing that, right? So to my mind, you tell me in the comment, what is your opinion? आप मुझे बताना, because I want to make this interactive. To my mind, MR position might not be necessary, but still there will be some person who will coordinate the internal auditor, coordinate with the certification body, coordinate the internal auditing system, management representative, right? So in that case, you may say that MR, or you may say with some other name. Like for example, somebody was writing QMS engineer, quality management system. MR stands for management representative. So to my mind, there is no mandatory need to appoint someone as MR, management representative, but the responsibilities will always be there. somebody responsibilities will always there. But the good thing which has happened is this: the auditor have now asking who is the process owner. Have you seen this change? आपने ये बदलाव देखा? Have you seen this change? That auditor is now asking who is the process owner. Let him reply. You don't reply. Let him reply. He is the process owner. Have you seen this in audits? That auditor nowadays, they are more active and they want to talk with the process owner, the person who is doing actual work. And this should be the case. And I believe, yes, this is very, very important. The person who is doing the work, he should be answerable, right? But yes, there could be different name could be there. It could be quality system. It could be management representative. Sometimes it is attached with quality assurance, quality head. They are responsible. But to my mind, they have done a good thing by making MR clause silent. The only thing they want to emphasize, it's not that MR was not working. It's they want to emphasize on the role of like process owner. They wanted that process owner should be given more respect and process owner should be come in front. How many of you agree? That's the reason they have made the MR silent. In many companies, what was happening? MR was doing, management representative was doing the work. He was carrying out the non-conformity. He was making the documentation. He was finding the non-conformity. He was the one who was closing the non-conformity. HOD was not involving. Audit fail. It's a MR responsibility. And MR was made, management representative was made the scapegoat. Management को क्या बनाया? MR representative को क्या बनाया जाता था? बलि का बकरा. उसके कंधे पर रख के क्या चलाई जाती थी? बंदूक. So MR in many organizations was made the scapegoat. So to my mind, if you agree, that's the reason why IATF ISO has made silent, because they want the role of process owner to be enhanced. It's not that MR was not working. Still, you can appoint MR. You can have names like quality system coordinator. It's 100% okay. How many of you agree? That's the reason they have made silent, because they want emphasize the role of process owner. It's not that MR was working or MR was not working, right? Agree? Yes, I can see many comments. Yeah, absolutely. So it's up to you. If you want to appoint MR, you can appoint MR. Absolutely. Otherwise, there is no like very active work. Yeah, I can understand. You can relate. I know people who are at MR position can relate. Other people sometimes they make fun of you. They say you are a documentation guy. What you do? You don't have any work. तुम कागज काले करता है. You make you don't work. But I know there is a lot of work. Okay. The fourth is the clauses have been changed from 8. Total clauses have been changed from 8 to 10 numbers, right? Before there were 8 clauses. Now there are 10 number clauses. And one more, that there were 7 mandatory documented process, SOP, or you can say documented process, increased from 7 to 21. So if you see, the standard operating procedure is also increased from like 7 to 21, right? So these are the 5 major changes. There are more, but I have told you 5. Content organization I added, risk analysis added, MRE silent, role of process owner, 8 to 10 clauses, and SOP increased from 7 to 21, right? And before there was 7 SOP, easy to remember, Dr. C. Pant. So this is very easy to remember. What is D? Document. R, record. C, corrective action. P, preventive action. A, audit. Right? N, control of non-conformity. Okay. And then T is your training. T is training. So before they were like 7 SOP. How many SOP were there? 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In 9001, it was like Dr. C. Pan. In IATF, this T was extra. But now, very, very difficult to remember. There are not 7. There are 21 mandatory documented process, right? How many? There are 21 mandatory documented process. Okay. Yes, absolutely. I will show you that list also, right? Okay, how many clauses? There are 10 clauses. How many clauses? 10 clauses. Okay. How many clauses? 10 clauses. Okay, some of you who have come to my awareness session, they might be aware, but how many of you want to remember 10 clauses for lifetime in next 2 minutes? In next 2 minutes, how many of you want to remember 10 major clauses for lifetime? Lifetime. Some of you already know. Those who are part of already know me. Yeah. Okay, so I will make you remember. Yes, I will make you remember. You can take screenshot if you want. Yeah, thank you. So friend, if you remember these 10 major clauses, right? These are 10 major clauses. And by the way, these are same for ISO 9001. These are same for IATF 16949. These are same for ISO, the ISO 14001, which is environment management system. These are same for ISO 45001. Like this structure is same. Okay, if you see the structure is same. So I'll tell you, like the 10 major, how you can remember 10 major clauses, and these are not going to change for next 10 to 15 years because there's a major change. And I will give you very easy technique by which you will remember these 10 clauses for lifetime. And what's the easy technique? Friend, just remember this one word. Just remember this one word. What's that one word? This is the one word. SNT, clips, OPI. Yes. Remember this. SNT, clips, OPI. Yes. SNT, clips, OPI. What is this? These are basically, you know, the 10 clauses. SNT, clips, OPI. These are shortcut, short form, right? Like the way you remember this chemistry formula or chemistry reactivity series. What is this? Now let's see. SNT. What is S? If you see, S is scope, right? Definitely will not go in depth, but I'll give you just name. N, normative reference. What's the linkages, right? T, terms and definition, right? If you see SNT, so first three are non-auditable clause, nothing need to be implemented. These are just generic clauses, right? We say non-auditable. They just form the part of the structure. This is SNT. Now, interestingly, the implementation should start from what? C, context of the organization. You should know what is the issues in the organization, like context of the organization. Clips. L stands for there has to be leadership in the company. P, you have to do planning in the organization, and then you should get support from your management, support from HR, support from your company, support from lab. And this we say what? Clips. CLPS, right? Clips. Okay. And then last, OPI. What is OPI? O stands for operation. You do the work, carry out the work. And then 9, P, you need to look at your performance. You have to look at your performance. You will look at what you have done. You will do audits. You will do management review. And then last but not the least, I stands for improvement. I stands for improvement. So what is this? Like SNT, clips, OPI. So what is this? SNT, clips, these are the 10 clauses, and these clauses will remain same, right? What is this? SNT, clips, OPI. Now let's see. S stands for scope. S stands for scope. N stands for normative reference. T stands for terms and definition. SNT done. SNT done. Clips, CLPS. C, context organization. You should know organization issues. There has to be leadership in the company. L stands for leadership. P stands for planning. S stands for support. Clips done. Then OPI. What is O? O stands for operation. P stands for performance. I stands for improvement. SNT, clips, OPI. Right. So that's a very, very easy way. Right, friends? So if you love this, if you like this, way to remember, you repeat this 2-3 times, you'll remember for lifetime, right? SNT, clips, OPI, SNT, clips, OPI. Repeat this 2-3 times, and you remember for lifetime. If you love this, like this, just write SNT, clips, OPI in the comment, so that I know that you like this way to remember. And many times in the interview, I have seen, people have remembered this, people have told this to interviewer, and the interviewer were very, very happy. If you love this, SNT, clips, OPI, great. That's really good. So nice. Thank you. Okay. So nice. Great. Yes. Very, very easy. Okay. How many of you want to look at the mandatory documentation, right? I will, yes. How many of you want to look at the list of mandatory documentation, those 21 procedure? How many of you want to have a list of 21 mandatory documented process? And this took me, by the way, in 2017, because standard came enhanced in 2017 actually, and it took me almost 3 days to read each and every line. How many of you want to look at the, yeah, you want to see? Okay, so let me show you, right? So what are the list of mandatory documented process. And by the way, as I said, it took me 3 days, to make the documentation, each every line in even 17. So these are the places where DP. So now they say DP, documented process. Okay, these are the places where DP is written. Let's see. Okay, so these are the. I think it may be a bit smaller. Sorry for that. So product safety, calibration, competence, internal auditor, employee motivation, engineering specification, design development, special characteristics, supplier selection, and type and extent of control. Okay, that's 10. And then we have statutory and regulatory change management, temporary change, rework, repair, non-conforming disposition, internal audit, problem solving, error proofing, content input. These are 21, right? So when I say 21, जब मैं कहता हूँ 21 does not mean you need 21 SOP or DP same documented process. 21 means the requirement of these 21 must be addressed in your quality management system, in your SOP. In your company, you might have 10, 50, 100 SOP. It does not matter, but requirement of this 21 must be addressed in your SOP. Did you got the understanding? Yes, I will show it again. These are the 10, first 10, and these are the second, other 11. Other than that, I also found 10 non-mandatory. So when I say non-mandatory, these are basically based on my experience. So when I say, just give me a second. Okay, just give me a second. Yeah. So when I say non-mandatory, what does non-mandatory mean? Non-mandatory means based on my experience of helping 31 plus companies, I found that auditors also expect SOP for this, although they may not give NC, but they will expect. Then that which I say non-mandatory, not required by IATF, but required by certification body or maybe required by customer. What are these? International issue, risk analysis, laboratory requirement, second party audit, in maintenance, tooling management, internal audit, incoming inspection, customer satisfaction monitoring, management review, warranty management. So these are like 10 additional. When I say non-mandatory, these based on my experience of interacting with different audits and helping different companies in the qualification of audit. Okay, great. So these are the list of 21 mandatory